Peace be up on you. My name's Johann Say Trillion. This is, as far as I can tell, episode 15. And this is going to be called The Bestowal of Michael on Urantia. And this is from paper 120. We about to take on a whole new phase now because we finna bring all this closer to home. We finna bring all this down to earth and some things that really matter to you and I. So, I'm not finna recap this whole thing, but I had painted a narrative with the help of these papers. Of course, it's just I pulled out of order to create just a picture and also relay a sense of urgency. So I chose certain papers to present a narrative on some things that's really beneficial as far as understanding this world we live in. And the funny thing about it is most people ain't never heard this, and on some real stuff, this is elementary knowledge that we should know. It's fundamental. So, yeah, it started with the Lucifer rebellion. We got to understand, like, we are still in a battle. Like, you can look around and tell something's going on, and that's the source of it. But the whole time, throughout this whole series, I've highlighted Michael, his contribution, his status, his rank, and now he's about to come down to earth. And we know him as Jesus. And this, I know we've all seen, me being familiar with this, having read it before, I can speak like this. We've all seen different narratives and stories. Like, story and narratives they're important in passing on knowledge. Like, we can learn a lot from stories and narratives, fictional or otherwise, nonfiction. And it's so much. We've all gotten game from a movie, a television series, or a book. There's all sorts of knowledge to be gained from narratives. And so I've seen and heard a lot of different narratives from all different forms of media, as you have. And when I tell you, like, nothing is comparable to what took place on this planet with this Son of God incarnate in flesh. And so they about to go deep into his purpose and every little nuanced detail that you never heard before. And man, this is life changing for real. And this is probably, without a doubt, this is definitely what drew me in the most about these papers. It was because once you understand this and get its purpose and the way it resonates, it's like, damn, this the realest thing on earth. This the realest thing to have happened on this planet. This the realest thing to have happened in our local universe. It's that serious, and it would be a crime. Like, I have to do this, basically. I gotta share this. It wouldn't be real if I didn't. So I'm just doing something I have to do, although I want to do it. I enjoy this. Like, this thing moves me, and it's real, and it's fascinating, and we about to get into it. So this part of the papers is part 4. It's called The Life and Teachings of Jesus. And this particular paper, 120, The Bestowal of Michael on Urantia. So I'm going to start off real quick, read the first paragraph, and as I do, if some sound dense or thick, I'm going to try to break it down as much as I can. Paper 120, The Bestowal of Michael on Urantia. Now, mind you, the last series, he's completed, the last episode, He's completed 6 bestowal missions already. Just a brief recap. Him being the creator son of our local universe. In order for him to have full sovereignty of this universe he created, he has to take the form of his creatures. And they do this so that he can rule mercifully and have complete understanding of what it's like to be us. And so this is the final time he has to do that. And he's taking on the lowest form in his universe, and that's a human being. All right, man, I'm finna kick it off. Assigned by Gabriel to supervise the restatement of the life of Michael when on Urantia in the likeness of mortal flesh, I, the Melchizedek director of the Revelatory Commission, entrusted with this task, am authorized to present this narrative of certain events which immediately preceded the Creator Son's arrival on Urantia to embark upon the terminal phase of his universe bestowal experience. And so this is basically saying these words are coming, as far as I can tell, from a Melchizedek. And this particular Melchizedek is known as the director of the Revelatory Commission. They're responsible with revelations, revealing things. And he's basically saying, I'm authorized to present this meeting that took place before Michael came to your planet. To live such identical lives as he imposes upon the intelligent beings of his own creation, thus to bestow himself in the likeness of his various orders of created beings, is a part of the price which every creator son must pay for the full and supreme sovereignty of his self-made universe of things and beings. Before the events I am about to delineate, Michael of Nebadon had bestowed himself 6 times after the similitude of 6 differing orders of his diverse creation of intelligent beings. It's just what I said. He's already bestowed himself 6 times. Then he prepared to descend upon you. Then he prepared to descend upon Urantia in the likeness of mortal flesh, the lowest order of his intelligent will creatures, and as such, a human of the material realm, to execute the final act in the drama of the acquirement of universe sovereignty in accordance with the mandates of the divine paradise rulers of the universe of universes. Now, ahead of time, there are certain parts, of course, that get thick. I'm going to have to skip around a little bit. I will say, they say at any moment throughout all past local universe time, Michael could have asserted personal sovereignty as a creator son, and as a creator son could have ruled his universe after the manner of his own choosing. Now they're basically saying, technically, he don't have to do what he did, but this is just a more complete way to for his sovereignty, to complete his sovereignty as well as to rule. Taking this harder route, in a sense, benefits him in the long run. So yeah, I'm gonna skip down a few paragraphs because it gets pretty heavy. I will say, having determined the time of his final bestowal and having selected the planet whereon this extraordinary event would take place, Michael held the usual pre-bestowal conference with Gabriel and then presented himself before his elder brother and paradise counselor, Immanuel. Again, per the last episode, we know that every time he goes on these different bestowal missions, Immanuel, who is essentially in this setup like a elder brother, he takes command of Michael's universe and holds it down while Michael completes this particular mission, which is what Immanuel is about to do again. All powers of universe administration, which had not previously been conferred upon Gabriel, Michael now assigned to the custody of Immanuel. And just before Michael's departure for the Urantia incarnation, Immanuel, in accepting the custody of the universe during the time of the Urantia bestowal, proceeded to impart the Bestowal counsel, which would serve as the incarnation guide for Michael when he would presently grow up on Urantia as a mortal of the realm. So basically, Immanuel is about to give him some counsel, a pep talk essentially, and lay out some rules for Michael when he comes down to this planet. In this connection, it should be borne in mind that Michael had elected to execute this bestowal in the likeness of mortal flesh, subject to the will of the Paradise Father. The Creator Son required instructions from no one in order to effect this carnation for the sole purpose of achieving universe sovereignty, but he embarked upon a program of the revelation. Man, it gets a little deep, but again, this is all of his own choosing. I'm going to skip down a few paragraphs, and this is part one, the seventh bestowal commission. Well, let me read the paragraph that precedes that. This was the setting of the momentous occasion when Immanuel presented the seventh bestowal commission, and from this pre-bestowal charge of Immanuel to the universe ruler, who subsequently became Jesus of Nazareth, Christ Michael on Urantia, I am permitted to present the following excerpts. So what he's saying is this, what I'm about to say is what Immanuel was telling Michael before he came down to this planet. This is some sort of commission. I guess they sit down somewhere and talk about what's about to happen and what's going to transpire. Part one, the seventh bestowal commission. This is Immanuel talking. My created brother, I'm about to witness your seventh and final universe bestowal. Most faithfully and perfectly have you executed the 6 previous commissions, and I entertain no thought but that you will be equally triumphant on this your terminal sovereignty bestowal. Heretofore, you have appeared on your bestowal spheres as a fully developed being of the order of your choosing. Now you are about to appear upon Urantia, the disordered and disturbed planet of your choice, not as a fully developed mortal, but as a helpless babe. This, my comrade, will be a new and untried experience for you. You are about to pay the full price of bestowal and to experience the complete enlightenment of the incarnation of a creator in the likeness of a creature. Throughout each of your former bestowals, you have voluntarily chosen to subject yourself to the will of the 3 paradise deities, Father, Son, and Spirit. This, I don't want to get too heady with this because it says some extra stuff. Now that you have elected to be wholly subject to your Father's will throughout your 7th bestowal, I, as the personal representative of our Father, assume the unqualified jurisdiction of your universe for the time of your incarnation. He's telling him, I'm going to hold this down while you handle your business on Urantia. In entering upon the Urantia bestowal, you have voluntarily divested yourself of all extraplanetary support and special assistance, such as might be rendered by any creature of your own creation. As your created sons of Nebadon are wholly dependent upon you for safe conduct throughout their universe careers, so now must you become wholly and unreservedly dependent upon your paradise Father for safe conduct throughout the unrevealed vicissitudes of your ensuing mortal career. So what he said, in entering upon the Urantia bestowal, you have voluntarily divested yourself of all extraplanetary support and special assistance. Basically, you're going to be as helpless initially for starters, like you're handing over all authority and you're going to live just like a mortal would on this particular planet. You just have to depend wholly. His whole mission was to show not only this planet, but his whole creation, what it is like to be led fully by your thought adjuster, to submit yourself to the will of God, to be totally consecrated upon that. And when you shall have finished this bestowal experience, you will know in very truth the full meaning and the rich significance of that faith trust which you so unvaryingly require all your creatures to master as a part of their intimate relationship with you as their local universe creator and father. Throughout your Urantia bestowal, you need be concerned with but one thing, the unbroken communion between you and your paradise Father, and it will be by the perfection of such a relationship that the world of your bestowal, even all the universe of your creation, will behold a new and more understandable revelation of your Father and my Father, the universal Father of all. Your concern, therefore, has only to do with your personal life on Urantia. I will be fully and efficiently responsible for the security and unbroken administration of your universe from the moment of your voluntary relinquishment of authority until you return to us as universe sovereign, confirmed by paradise, and receive back from my hands not the vicegerent authority which you now surrender to me, but instead the supreme power over and jurisdiction of your universe. That wasn't really that heady, but what he was really saying is when you go down there, handle your business. When you get back, I'm gonna give this power that you vested in me back over to you. But now you are the full. You gonna have a whole nother level of power because now you're the true sovereign ruler of your creation. And that you may know with assurance that I am empowered to do all that I am now promising, knowing full well that I am the assurance of our paradise for the faithful performance of my word. That was in parentheses. I announce to you that there has just been communicated to me a mandate of the Ancients of Days on Universal, which will prevent all spiritual jeopardy in Nebadon throughout the period of your voluntary bestowal. From the moment you surrender consciousness upon the beginning of the mortal incarnation until you return to us as supreme and unconditional sovereign of this universe of your own creation and organization, nothing of serious import can happen in all Nebadon. In this interim of your incarnation, I hold the orders of the Ancients of Days, which unqualifiedly mandate the instantaneous and automatic extinction of any being guilty of rebellion or presuming to instigate insurrection in the universe of Nebadon while you are absent on this bestowal. So what he just told him was, don't worry, I just got confirmation from the Ancients of Days. These are, I mentioned them plenty times before, the judges, so to say, of our super universe. And they are saying that any resurrection, uh, any insurrection or rebellion taking place is going to be stomped out automatically. So don't worry about a thing while you're on your mission. That's what he just told. As in each of your previous bestowals, I will remind you that I am recipient of your universe jurisdiction as brother trustee. I exercise all authority and wield all power in your name. I function as would our paradise father, and in accordance with your explicit request that I thus act in your stead. And such being the fact, all this delegated authority is yours again to exercise at any moment you may see fit to requisition its return. Your bestowal is throughout wholly voluntary. So all this power that he is handing over to Immanuel, while he comes down here, Immanuel is still telling him at any time, this is yours, even while you're down there. Man, this is major stuff, bro. Like, this ain't what be throwing people off because we've been so misled about so much and we've never had these details fleshed out. Like, it's no other container of information out here that can tell you, that does attempt to tell you the structure of this universe, the order and the hierarchy and the names and the personalities involved. And not just the personalities, the material makeup, so on and so forth. So we really just, and what we get, like the little bits and pieces that we've been accustomed to hearing about Jesus is just so much missing. But all that to say, is a lot of power taking place. And this ain't religious history. Like, this is history, period. The last thing I said was your bestowal is throughout wholly voluntary. As a mortal incarnate in the realm, you are without celestial endowments, but all your relinquished power may be held at any time. You may choose to reinvest yourself with universal authority. If you should choose to reinstate yourself in power and authority, remember it will be wholly for personal reasons, since I am the living and supreme pledge whose presence and promise guarantee the safe administration of your universe in accordance with your Father's will. Rebellion such as has 3 times occurred in Nebadon cannot occur during your absence from Salvington on this bestowal. For the period of the Urantia bestowal, the Ancients of Days have decreed that rebellion in Nebadon shall be invested with the automatic seed of its own annihilation. They be a fool with the wording sometimes. As long as you are absent on this final and extraordinary bestowal, I pledge, in parentheses, with Gabriel's cooperation, the faithful administration of your universe. And as I commission you to undertake this ministry of divine revelation and to undergo this experience of perfected human understanding, I act in behalf of my Father and your Father and offer you the following counsel, which should guide you in the living of your earth life as you become progressively self-conscious regarding the divine mission of your continued sojourn in the flesh. 2. The bestowal limitations. So these are things that is just what it is. These are limitations of this bestowal. Hey man, it's interesting stuff. 1. In accordance with the usages and in conformity with the technique of Sonorington, that's a sphere located by Paradise that deals with sun. In compliance with the mandates of the eternal Son of Paradise, I have provided in every way for your immediate entrance upon this mortal bestowal in harmony with the plans formulated by you and placed in my keeping by Gabriel. You will grow up on Urantia as a child of the realm. Complete your human education, all the while subject to the will of your paradise father. Live your life on Urantia as you have determined. Terminate your planetary sojourn and prepare for ascension to your father to receive from him the supreme sovereignty of your universe. Excuse me. So he just told him real short. This was, the gist of it. You're gonna grow up as a child. You're gonna complete your human education. All this subject to the will of your paradise father. Live your life on Urantia as you've determined. Terminate your planetary sojourn, like when it's time, in the mission, and prepare for ascension to your father to receive from him the supreme sovereignty of your universe. So that's the mission. 2. Apart from your earth mission and your universe revelation, but incidental to both, I counsel that you assume, after you are sufficiently self-conscious of your divine identity, the additional task of technically terminating the Lucifer rebellion in the system of Satania, and that you do all this as the Son of Man. Now this is real heavy, man. What he just told him, while you down there, after you're self-conscious of your divine identity, when you start to, as a human being of the realm, start to realize like your Son of God heritage, once you start to become, when you're conscious of that, I want you to take out Lucifer once and for all. This is hard, bro. Listen. Again, bro, this ain't religious history. This is history. Thus, as a mortal creature of the realm, so listen, he says, after you are sufficiently self-conscious of your divine identity, basically I'm putting the additional task on you of technically terminating the Lucifer rebellion in the system of Satania, and that you do all this as the Son of Man. Thus, as a mortal creature of the realm, in weakness made powerful by faith submission to the will of your Father, I suggest that you graciously achieve all you have repeatedly declined arbitrarily to accomplish by power and might when you were so endowed at the time of the inception of this sinful and unjustified rebellion. Michael let the whole Lucifer rebellion transpire. He let it play out. It was some things he could have done, I guess, let them tell it, but it's not that he's at fault for letting it play out. That was evidently the right thing to do. Like, this is your choice out of him. But he could have terminated it at any time or took different actions instead of letting it play out. And he was way more powerful than Lucifer ever was, basically. And he was a very powerful being at the time when it happened. He was the creator of this local universe. But instead, he kind of fell back. What Immanuel is telling him, now that you just going to be on this low level of the flesh and completing your 7th and final bestowal mission, it's just going, I want you to end that while you're in the flesh. Like, just really shame them. I would regard it as a fitting climax of your mortal bestowal if you should return to us as the Son of Man, planetary prince of Urantia, as well as the Son of God, supreme sovereign of your universe. As a mortal man, the lowest type of intelligent creature in Nebadon, meet and adjudicate the blasphemous pretensions of Caligastia and Lucifer, and in your assumed humble estate forever in the shameful misrepresentations of these fallen children of light. Having steadfastly declined to discredit these rebels through the exercise of your creative prerogatives, now it would be fitting that you should, in the likeness of the lowest creatures of your creation, wrest dominion from the hands of these fallen sons. And so would your whole local universe in all fairness clearly and forever recognize the justice of your doing in the role of mortal flesh, those things which mercy admonished you not to do by the power of arbitrary authority. Man, so much is being said. It's hard for me to, it's like, wow. But again, he wants him to end this as a mortal in the flesh. Like, man, just really, again, like, run up a score on these fools in the flesh. Like, show them, man, I could have been ended y'all. I was just being merciful. But now that I'm the lowest creature of the realm and still more powerful than you, I'm going to end it now. And this whole universe is going to see. And it's, I don't know, this really some shit what they saying. All right. And having thus by your bestowal established the possibility of the sovereignty of the Supreme in Nebadon, let me skip over that. But basically, they're saying once you do this and you return and you have full sovereignty, like you never really have to deal with another rebellion again. Period. Part 3. When you have succeeded in terminating the Urantia secession, again, like Prince Caligastia, secession, there is a word when people want to break away from the whole and start something of their own. And that's what Caligastia did. So they call it, the Urantia secession. And once you end that, as you undoubtedly will, I counsel you to accept from Gabriel the conference of the title of Planetary Prince of Urantia as the eternal recognition by your universe of your final bestowal experience. Now remember, Caligastia was the former planetary prince of this planet. Came here some 500,000 years ago. Excuse me. The Lucifer Rebellion was a little more than 200,000 years ago. So for almost 300,000 years, he's been an apostate prince. He's been shorn of all authority, but they're just saying, we want to give you the title on top of everything else, Planetary Prince of Urantia, once you finally end this whole rebellion as well as secession. And that you further do any and all things consistent with the purport of your bestowal to atone for the sorrow and confusion brought upon Urantia by the Caligastia betrayal and the subsequent Adamic default. 4. In accordance with your request, Gabriel in all concern will cooperate with you in the express desire to end your Urantia bestowal with the pronouncement of a dispensational judgment of the realm, accompanied by the termination of an age, the resurrection of the sleeping mortal survivors. As I said before, they have these different ages, and it seems like millennia go by where all the people who have died within these large time frames are resurrected in a different form, in a Urantia form, and final judgment takes place. Are you going to continue on to paradise, or is this the end for you? 5. As concerns the planet of your bestowal and the immediate generation of men living thereon at the time of your mortal sojourn, I counsel you to function largely in the role of a teacher. Give attention first to the liberation and inspiration of man's spiritual nature. Next, illuminate the darkened human intellect, heal the souls of men, and emancipate their minds from age-old fears. And then, in accordance with your mortal wisdom, minister to the physical well-being and material comfort of your brothers in the flesh. Live the ideal religious life for the inspiration and edification of all your universe. Pretty self-explanatory. Go down there as a teacher. That's largely what you're going to be known as. Appeal to men's spiritual nature and enlighten their minds. And when you can, heal the sick. That's what he just said. 6. On the planet of your bestowal, set rebellion segregated man spiritually free. On Urantia, make a further contribution to the sovereignty of the Supreme. Let me skip, because we haven't gone over some of that. In your temporal life, the will of the finite creature and the will of the infinite creator are to become as one, even as they are also uniting in the evolving deity of the Supreme Being. Just real quick, the Supreme Being is something that it's a concept they refer to as why God encompasses infinity and eternity. The experience that is actually taking place, that involves our creation, this evolving experience, because God, while there's no shortcut for experience for anybody. So this evolving experiential aspect of our creation is called the Supreme Being. Pour out upon the planet of your bestowal the spirit of truth, and thus make all normal mortals on that isolated sphere immediately and fully accessible to the ministry of the segregated presence of our Paradise Father, the thought adjusters of the realms. So, the spirit of truth is a reality. It's been poured out upon our flesh since Pentecost. That's further down the line, but this has happened. And it works in conjunction with the thought adjuster. And the spirit of truth is just that conviction of truth. And it's been poured out upon our flesh. You really, honestly, don't have to be led astray out here, because the spirit of truth has been poured out upon our flesh, but we're going to get to that. 7. In all that you may perform on the world of your bestowal, bear constantly in mind that you are living a life for the instruction and edification of all your universe. You are bestowing this life of mortal incarnation upon Urantia, but you are to live such a life for the spiritual inspiration of every human and superhuman intelligence that has lived, now exists, or may yet live on every inhabited world which is formed, now forms, or may yet form a part of the vast galaxy of your administrative domain. Bro, that was heavy. This particular life that took place on our little tiny planet, bro, throughout this whole universe of millions of planets within this local universe, the life he lived was to be lived for like all eternity. Future generations on other planets are going to look to Michael's life on this planet as to how to fully submit to doing God's will and being in tune with your thought adjuster to the end. This is the model. This is the template. This is everything, bro. Your earth life in the likeness of mortal flesh should not be so lived as to constitute an example for the mortals of Urantia in the days of your earthly sojourn, nor for any subsequent generation of human beings on Urantia or on any other world. Rather, shall your life in the flesh on Urantia be the inspiration for all lives upon all Nebadon worlds throughout all generations in the ages to come. 8. Your great mission to be realized and experienced in the mortal incarnation is embraced in your decision to live a life wholeheartedly motivated to do the will of your paradise Father, thus to reveal God, your Father, in the flesh, and especially to the creatures of the flesh. At the same time, you will also interpret with a new enhancement, our Father, to the supermortal beings of our Nebadon. Equally with this ministry of new revelation and augmented interpretation of the Paradise Father to the human and the superhuman type of mind, you will also so function as to make a new revelation of man to God. Exhibit in your one short life in the flesh, as it has never before been seen in all Nebadon, the transcendent possibilities attainable by a God-knowing human during the short career of mortal existence, and make a new and illuminating interpretation of man and the vicissitudes of his planetary life to all the superhuman intelligences of our Nebadon and for all time. So, while you are supposed to be living this life that creatures, mortal creatures, draw upon, also the higher intelligences of the universe are going to more fully understand what man goes through, for real, for real. You are to go down to Urantia in the likeness of mortal flesh and living as a man in your day and generation. You will so function as to show your entire universe the ideal of perfected technique in the supreme engagement of the affairs of your vast creation. The achievement of God seeking man and finding him, and the phenomenon of man seeking God and finding him. And doing all this to mutual satisfactions and doing it during one short lifetime in the flesh. 9. I caution you ever to bear in mind that while in fact you are to become an ordinary human of the realm, in potential you will remain a creator son of the Paradise Father. Throughout this incarnation, although you will live and act as a son of man, the creative attributes of your personal divinity will follow you from Salvington to Urantia. It will ever be within your power of will to terminate the incarnation at any moment subsequent to the arrival of your thought adjuster. Prior to the arrival and reception of the adjuster, I will vouch for your personality integrity. But subsequent to the arrival of your adjuster and concomitant with your progressive recognition of the nature and import of your bestowal mission, you should refrain from the formulation of any superhuman will to attainment, achievement, or power in view of the fact that your creative prerogatives will remain associated with your mortal personality because of the inseparability of these attributes from your personal presence. He's telling them all that power is still with you. Be mindful of that, essentially, because you could do anything at any time, but we want to keep this more natural and we want mankind to really draw from this. So stick to the script as much as possible. Here's part 3. Further counsel and advice. And still Immanuel talking. And now, my brother, and taking leave of you as you prepare to depart for Urantia, and after counseling you regarding the general conduct of your bestowal, allow me to present certain advices that have been arrived at and in consultation with Gabriel, in which concern minor phases of your mortal life. we further suggest. So again, this is just counsel and advice from Immanuel and Gabriel with Michael. They having a sit down before he accomplishes this huge task in the Creator Son's life. 1. That in the pursuit of the ideal of your mortal earth life, you also give some attention to the realization and exemplification of some things practical and immediately helpful to your fellow men. Yeah, we know we told you this is for all the universe, this, that, and the third, but give them some game they can use right now as well. 2, as concerns family relationships, give precedence to the accepted customs of family life as you find them established in the day and generation of your bestowal. Live your family and community life in accordance with the practices of the people among whom you have elected to appear. Pretty self-explanatory. 3, in your relations to the social order, we advise that you confine your efforts largely to spiritual regeneration and intellectual emancipation. Avoid all entanglements with the economic structure and the political commitments of your day. More especially, devote yourself to living the ideal religious life on Urantia. Yo, I mean, they're telling you, like, again, this is pretty self-explanatory. Keep it to spiritual regeneration and intellectual emancipation. Don't get into politics or economics. That is not your mission down there. Is to live an ideal religious life on Urantia. And again, this is for all the universe, for all time. 4, under no circumstances, and not even in the least detail, should you interfere with the normal and orderly progressive evolution of the Urantia races. But this prohibition must not be interpreted as limiting your efforts to leave behind you on Urantia an enduring and improved system of positive religious ethics. As a dispensational son, you are granted certain privileges pertaining to the advancement of the spiritual and religious status of the world's people. 5, as you may see fit, you are to identify yourself with existing religious and spiritual movements as they may be found on Urantia, but in every possible manner seek to avoid the formal establishment of an organized cult, a crystallized religion, or a segregated ethical grouping of mortal beings. Your life and teachings are to become the common heritage of all religions and all peoples. That's pretty important. So, I mean, as you know, he was a Jew for much of that time until he kind of outgrew that, so to say. 6, to the end that you may not unnecessarily contribute to the creation of subsequent stereotype systems of Urantia religious beliefs or other types of non-progressive religious loyalties, we advise you still further. Leave no writings behind you on the planet. This is big. This is major. They telling him don't leave nothing behind in writing for a whole variety of reasons. Mainly the fact simple man is going to regard that in such high esteem and start to worship it, and it turns into some idol and it just messes up the whole mission. So he's not supposed to leave no writing behind, period. Refrain from all writing upon permanent materials. Enjoin your associates to make no images or other likenesses of yourself in the flesh. See that nothing potentially idolatrous is left on the planet at the time of your departure. So don't leave no writing behind. Make sure none of your folk like are drawing portraits of you. Like you can't have none of that because it's going to turn into an idol and again destroy the mission. That's not what this is about. It's about him living this life. That's all he's supposed to leave behind. 7. While you will live the normal and average social life of the planet, being a normal individual of the male sex, you will probably not enter the marriage relation, which relation would be wholly honorable and consistent with your bestowal. But I must remind you that one of the incarnation mandates of Sonarrington is a sphere around paradise that is concerned strictly with sons. I must remind you that one of the incarnation mandates of Sonarrington forbids the leaving of human offspring behind on any planet by a bestowal son of paradise origin. Now think about this, man. Why would the creator, if you really understand who he is, you would understand the folly of him leaving behind any material offspring, because again, they gonna be worshiped and venerated in a way that takes away from the mission of his life and his words. So that makes sense to me anyway. 8. In all other details of your oncoming bestowal, we would commit you to the leading of the indwelling adjuster, the teaching of the ever-present divine spirit of human guidance, and the reason judgment of your expanding human mind of hereditary endowment. Such an association of creature and creator attributes will enable you to live for us the perfect life of man on the planetary spheres, not necessarily perfect as regarded by any one man in any one generation or any one world, much less on Urantia, but wholly and supremely replete as evaluated on the more highly perfected and perfecting worlds of your far-flung universe. What they told him is just live a life committed to the following of this indwelling adjuster, which we've gone over. This fragment, that spirit of God that indwells us all, that you can seek and follow. This is doing God's will, leading to this adjuster, a thought adjuster. That's what that spirit is. And they're telling him that's all you need to concern yourself down there with. If you do that, it doesn't matter like what mankind does 3,000 years from now, 100,000 years from now, or on any other planet, because you're showing mortal creatures that wherever they are, whenever they are, they can do the same. That's the whole point. You can follow the guiding of your thought adjuster just as Michael did when he was on this earth. And that's all it come down to. And now may your Father and my Father, who has ever sustained us in our past performances, guide and sustain you and be with you from the moment you leave us and achieve the surrender of your consciousness of personality throughout your gradual return to recognition of your divine identity incarnate in human form, and then on through the whole of your bestowal experience on Urantia until your deliverance from the flesh and your ascension to our Father's right hand of sovereignty, when I shall again see you on Salvington, the capital of Nebadon. We shall welcome your return to us as the supreme and unconditional sovereign of this universe of your own making, serving and completed understanding. So, in your stead I now reign. I assume jurisdiction of all Nebadon as acting sovereign during the interim of your seventh immortal bestowal on Urantia. And to you, Gabriel, I commit the safekeeping of the Son of Man about to be until he shall presently and in power and glory be returned to me as the Son of Man and the Son of God. And Gabriel, I am your sovereign until Michael thus returns. That was that. Those were the final words of Immanuel to Michael before he came to this planet as a baby. Then, immediately, in the presence of all Salvington assembled, Michael removed himself from our midst, and we saw him no more in his accustomed place until his return as the supreme and personal ruler of the universe, subsequent to the completion of his bestowal career on Urantia. Part 4. The Incarnation, making two one. And so certain unworthy children of Michael, who had accused their creator father of selfishly seeking rulership and indulged the insinuation that the creator son was arbitrarily and autocratically upheld in power by virtue of the unreasoning loyalty of a deluded universe of subservient creatures, were to be silenced forever and left confounded and disillusioned by the life of self-forgetful service which the Son of God now entered upon as the Son of Man, all the while subject to the will of the Paradise Father. That wasn't really that too thick or hard to follow, but they just taking a shot at Lucifer, Satan, Caligastia, saying that they're about to witness what power really is, and that their whole denial of Michael's power was a lie, a bold-faced lie. But make no mistake, Christ Michael, while truly a dual origin being, was not a double personality. He was not God in association with man, but rather God incarnate in man. And he was always just that combined being. The only progressive factor in such a non-understandable relationship was the progressive self-conscious realization and recognition by the human mind of this fact of being God and man. What they're saying, that I know that's a little confusing, but the mortal Jesus gradually grew in his own mind of his own realization of his previous power up on high. It was like a growth. As a mortal being, he grew into the realization of where he came from, so to say. Christ Michael did not progressively become God. God did not at some vital moment in the earth life of Jesus become man. Jesus was God and Jesus was God and man always and even forevermore. And this God and this man were and now are one, even as the paradise trinity of three beings is in reality one deity. It's a whole nother story, but yes, the Trinity, don't get it confused. It's not three different gods. It's the one God manifesting himself in a triune way. Never lose sight of the fact that the supreme spiritual purpose of the Michael Bestowal was to enhance the revelation of God. Urantia mortals have varying concepts of the miraculous, but to us who live as citizens of the local universe, there are few miracles. And of these, by far, the most intriguing are the incarnational bestowals of the paradise sons. The appearance in and on your world by apparently natural processes of a divine son we regard as a miracle, the operation of universal laws beyond our understanding. Jesus of Nazareth was a miraculous person. So what they're saying, what this Melchizedek who wrote this is saying, that throughout all creation, even higher intelligent and more spiritual beings still regard what takes place, how this son, this creator son of paradise origin is able to transform himself and turn into a helpless baby of the realm. They view that as a miracle, and they've seen a lot. In and through all this extraordinary experience, God the Father chose to manifest himself as he always does in the usual way in the normal, natural, and dependable way of divine acting. So that was the end of the Bestowal of Michael. This came from paper 120. This is the first paper in the life and teachings of Jesus, and it get greater later.